Congratulations to you for joining us for NFL Points, Picks, and Props Week 4. We know what we're talking about. We're going to help you make the best picks possible for this coming weekend. Joining me, Ben O'Connell from Chicago, Illinois, Tommy Burch in Springfield, Massachusetts, after a beeline into Connecticut earlier this evening. And I am Kyle Garlett in Denver, Colorado. And I just wanted to take you back briefly to last week because some of what happened last week is going to set the table for some of the discussion this evening. So here's a quick recap of what happened.
You can tell just by watching them play that there's just a different level of intensity and there's a second motor in all of those players. It's a whole different football team, and I'm loving it. I think the Broncos defense is going to be the best defense that the Dolphins have faced so far. I think that the Broncos are going to keep it well within 6.5.
I do think this team is different. I do think they can turn it around. I do think they have a shot at Miami.
And I just don't see the Broncos being in this game at all. As you can see there from our graphics, I am the guy who picked Miami. I said that the Broncos would not be in this game at all, and that wasn't entirely true. But prior to the game starting, the score was 0-0, so the Denver Broncos were very much in that game at about 12:55 Eastern Time, about 1:05 Eastern Time. It was pretty much over. Ben, do you have anything you'd like to say about the Denver Broncos?
Well, first off, I just like to say we made that prediction before Justin Simmons was declared out. I'm sure with him playing, we would have held him to 63. Okay? I don't know what. Also, I've made some altercations to my beloved hoodie that I'm not sure y'all know. No more logo. They don't deserve it. And replace them with the true name of the team, the Bums. Okay, we got a nice little signage here, so they know who they are. Listen, I've never seen a football team like this. Okay, it's absolutely a disgrace. For the first time in my life, I can say that I love the Denver Broncos more than they love me back. I've never seen a team so disrespectful to their fans. Not even trying. You know what? It just hurt my soul. I feel heartbroken. This is worse than any heartbreak I've ever experienced, Kyle. I don't know what to do. I've been eating tons and tons of ice cream this week.
Well, at least
I did see the bonbon sales had gone through the roof in Chicago. So yeah. Sorry, Tommy. Go right ahead and defend your actions last week.
There is no defense. My reputation. My reputation as a sports analyst and a sports betting savant is no more. I am just your average Joe that helps you make picks for football games. There it goes. My reputation gone.
Well, I will say this, Tommy, in your defense, you did correctly pick the Indianapolis Colts money line you had them beating the Baltimore Ravens last week. Your money line, let's get an update here where your money line sits. I've got the numbers right here. You are now ahead $541 in just 3 weeks of football. So while, yes, you did strike out with the whole that Broncos are going to hang with the Dolphins, you had the Colts and Gardner Minshew knocking off the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. So well done on that pick. Folks, if you've been listening to Tommy's Moneyline Picks, you are well in the black. And Ben, you're up $281 on your Moneyline Picks as well. So not all was lost last week, at least not for us.
One game isn't the end of the world. We bounce back. Short-term memory. Be like a goldfish.
It's interesting. I had written about that, obviously the Broncos Dolphins game, and I made a quip how the only way you ever should give up 70 points is if you're playing the Alabama Crimson Tide in the first week of September. And then I thought to myself, it's been a while since Alabama scored 70 points. So I went back in to look at the last national champion to score 70 points in a game. Alabama or Georgia last year, only 65. 65 was their high. 2021, when Georgia won again, 63 was their high. Alabama in 2020, 63 was their high. LSU in 2019, 66 was their high. The last time a college national champion scored over 70 points was in 2018 when Clemson scored 77 against Louisville. So what we saw wasn't just unusual for the NFL, the most points scored since 1966. It was unusual for any football outside of a video game. So in that respect, congrats to the Broncos for being unusual, for being an outlier there. I mean, look, had they gone in and they lost, 30-20, would we be talking about the Broncos this week? Probably not. But we're doing nothing but talking about the Broncos this week because they lost by 50 points. I think that's pretty special.
Because they suck.
Would you believe that defense costs $100 million?
What I don't believe is how Vance Joseph still is employed, but yeah,
It's
good
awesome, dude.
Oh, goodness. I'm never picking the Broncos again. Never. I
All right,
refuse.
So I was thinking about that. What are we going to nickname this Dolphins team? Because, of the 5 fastest times recorded on a field this season, all 5 belong to the Dolphins. 3 different Dolphins have been amongst the 5 fastest players in football this year. There's got to be some kind of nickname for them. And so that got me an idea for our game tonight that we're going to play. It's going to be a NFL team nickname game, as we do every week. The winner of the game will get to make your picks first, and then you'll pick your favorite, your top underdog, and your easy money line pick first. So, Ben, since it's been a long, hard week for you, and it's probably not necessarily going to get much better over the course of the season, I'm going to have you go first. All right. It's a real simple game. I'm going to name the nickname, and then you tell me which team that nickname belongs to. You don't have to be specific to what year it came out and that kind of thing. I want to do that because most of these nicknames do predate you guys when you were younger football fans. So just tell me who the team it belongs to, and you'll get a point. All right.
All right.
We are ready to go. All right, Ben. First one, the Hogs.
The Hogs. That's
The Hogs.
The Commanders.
It is the Commanders' offensive line, or the Redskins' offensive line back because it was 1980s. But yes, that counts as a point. Well done.
That stuck around too.
Tommy, to you, the Killer Bees.
Killer Bees. That's Pittsburgh, right?
Well, it could go 2 ways. Because they had Roethlisberger and Brown. And they did have a threesome that were the Killer Bees. I was actually thinking about the Dolphins defense of the 1980s because they had 7 players of 11 that were named that began with a B. But I will accept the Pittsburgh Steelers because at one point they also were called the Killer Bees. So you're not wrong there. So we are tied 1-1. Okay, Ben, back to you. The greatest show on turf.
The Rams, St. Louis.
It was indeed the Rams. I would have also accepted the Houston Oilers because briefly in 1992, when they were running the run and shoot, they called themselves the greatest show on turf. But most of us think about that great Rams team from 99 to 2001. All right, Tommy, to you. The Dome Patrol.
The Dome Patrol?
The Dome Patrol.
Is this New Orleans?
It is indeed the New Orleans Saints defense in the 1980s and 90s. The Dome Patrol. We are tied 2 apiece. All right.
Wow, we're rolling right now.
To you, Ben. The Dirty Birds.
Oh, it's the Falcons, right?
It is indeed the Atlanta Falcons. They got that nickname in 1998 when Jamal Anderson used to do the Dirty Bird in the end zone on their way to the Super Bowl. I believe you might know the team that lost. They lost to that. Yeah, they did lose that Super Bowl. No idea who beat them though. It's such a distant memory. All right, Tommy. To you.
It's a shadow of the past.
The Fearsome Foursome.
The Fearsome Foursome.
The Fearsome Foursome.
This is so familiar. I know this. My football knowledge is just is dying right now. The Fearsome Foursome. Was that the Giants?
It was not.
No.
It was the Rams defensive line in the 1960s where they had Rosie Greer and Merlin Olsen. They had a fantastic defensive line there. All right, Ben. This to clinch the game.
All right.
We're going to go with the Doomsday defense. The Doomsday defense. Who was the Doomsday defense?
The Doomsday defense. Was that Dallas?
It was indeed the Dallas Cowboys of the late 1970s. In fact, the Doomsday defense played the Orange Crush in the Super Bowl, and the Doomsday defense came out on top. Ben, you did win the game. We're going to go ahead and play the tiebreaker just for fun because it really is quite a fun thing. Okay, so the most yards ever by a team in a full season, 7,474 by the New Orleans Saints in 2011. Second most yards ever in a season, 7,317 by the record-setting Denver Broncos, who also scored 606 points that year, which still stands as an NFL record. The current Dolphins pace, the current Dolphins offensive pace for total yards is what? Tommy, you go first. Closest wins the tiebreaker.
I'm going to say 11,396. I don't know. I'm just throwing a number out there.
So they're going to break the record by over 4,000 yards. All right.
Yes, they are.
Ben?
There's how many games in a season? There's 18. We're like through
17 games.
17.
We've got 14
Whoa.
more games to go.
14 more games. Got through 3. They're probably on pace for like 8,000, right?
They are on pace for 9,355, which would be a record. Ben, you are closer than Tommy. You do win the tiebreaker, and you won the game. So when it comes time to making our picks, you will get to go first, and you will get to go first right now as we start our previews for the season, or for week 4. Let me go ahead and get our ticker going. We're going to put you in the special box because you go first. So, Ben, your first game of the weekend, Minnesota Vikings, Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, so Carolina's defense last week did not respond too well to the Seattle offensive game plan, which revolved around a run and setting up the play action. I think that's what Minnesota's going to want to do, and so how they like to operate. And despite the 0-3 record, like, they still have big play potential, right? I like there's still like these moments where you remember that is Justin Jefferson. That is, Kirk Cousins can still put it on a rope. It definitely has not been as consistent as in the past, and it definitely looks like they are imploding. But if you're going to turn it around, this is the team to turn it around against. Bryce Young looks like he's probably going to be back on the field. Ankle sprain, it was minor. Still expect him to be a little bit ginger on it. Could make movement in the pocket a little bit hard. Which, as a young quarterback, it's just another thing to pile on to. I'm going to take Minnesota to cover 3.5 here.
No, did you guys watch the Chargers Vikings game? I rewatched the last bit of it just because I wanted to make sure that I saw everything that I thought I saw. 4 times in the game, the Vikings got down to the 6-yard line. They came away with 10 points on 4 trips to the 6. Twice in the last 3 minutes, they were down inside the 6-yard line. They came away with 0 points. They had a turnover on downs, and then that weird interception at the end where they did not clock the ball at all. They get to the line. They could have easily clocked it with about 25 seconds to go, but everybody's just kind of lazing around, not doing anything. And all of a sudden, they're having a quick throw a pass, and it's picked off, and it was just ridiculous. they racked up the yards. They moved the ball up and down the field. I just can't believe that they will continue to lose games like that. At some point, they're going to start getting some of these red zone points, and I think it happens this week. I'm with you on this. I think that the Vikings do cover what to me is a pretty modest spread for a Panthers offense that doesn't seem to do too much.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings, they are, I guess, the best of the two evils here. I mean, the Carolina Panthers, Andy Dalton played incredible in the role. I think he actually had a great game. But when you have your quarterback throw for, I don't even know what his stats were. I think he had up to upwards of 3 touchdowns, maybe 4. And if you have a game like that and you still lose by, what, 10 points to the Seahawks? Yeah, sorry, not 4 touchdowns. Andy Dalton had 361 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they lost by 10 to Seattle. That's embarrassing. And now they're putting Bryce Young in there, and arguably I think Andy Dalton played better than Bryce Young has so far this season. Obviously, Bryce Young's a rookie. He's a vet. But Bryce is coming back. He's not 100%. So you're going to have a guy who is less sufficient as a passer. He's already going to be, relying on one leg. And then they're playing against the Vikings who can have an explosive offense. I'm all Vikings -3.5 here.
Yeah, that offensive line right now is just absolutely terrible. And Dalton gives them a better chance to win because he's more experienced. He processes everything much faster than Bryce Young does. It's not that Young can't get there, but right now Young is super slow in the pocket, and that offensive line is going to kill them because of that. I think we are all in agreement, and for the right reasons. All right, Ben, your next game. Speaking of those Seattle Seahawks who knocked off the Panthers, they are at the New York Giants.
They're at the New York Giants and they're underdogs. Crazy to me. I'm not allowed as a Broncos fan to say what teams are bad, but the Giants definitely aren't good. You know what I'm saying? They're a struggling football team to say the least. So far this season, they're averaging 14.3 points a game while allowing 32.7. They've allowed at least 3 touchdowns in every game they've played, and now Seattle doesn't have the best defense either so far right now. They're averaging 29.3 points a game, but the Giants don't have the offense to put up points, right? That's why I like Seattle to win and cover as the underdogs here, a 1.5 point spread. I really do think that this is a big mismatch for Seattle.
What we all suspected after last year was that the Giants were in the playoffs by accident, and they're proving that this year that they were way ahead of their time by actually making a playoff run last year. This is the team that they really are. This is where their talent level is. Whereas on the other side, Seattle has proven that their run to the playoffs last year was not a fluke. We finally have seen Devin Witherspoon make it to the field, and he looks great. This defense is going to get better as he gets better. Geno Smith looks just as good as he did last year. Kenneth Walker is on pace for over 1,000 yards again. DK Metcalf is off to an incredible start to the season. I like the Seattle Seahawks to win this game. They should not be underdogs. I know they're on the road, but it's not as though MetLife is this massively hard place to play. The Seahawks will roll in this game.
There's more Jets fans that go to MetLife than Giants fans at this point. It's ridiculous. The New Jersey Giants. But, so you might be a Broncos fan, so you can't decide what team's bad. I'm a 49ers fan, so I can. The Giants suck. And I think the Seahawks don't get enough credit for being one of the most well-rounded teams in the NFL. There's a lot of teams with incredible offense and incredible defense and mediocre offense / mediocre defense. The Seahawks are good all around. You can trust them on both sides of the ball. I think that Seahawks fans are probably the most secure fan in the NFL because they don't have to worry about, when their defense goes on the field, they're not going to give up 35 points or 70 points. And when their offense goes on the field, they're not worried about putting up 4. So, I think the Seahawks are going to roll through the Giants. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win by a touchdown or more.
All right. So the 70-point wonders on the road as underdogs to the Buffalo Bills. Ben, what do you think?
Uh, this may just be spite, but I don't think the Dolphins are all that. No, I'm kidding. They're a phenomenal football team, and I feel like they're finally encapsulating Mike McDaniel's full, idea, like putting it onto the field as complete as it can be. And it looks awesome. It's fun to watch. Let me tell you what, I watched every single snap of that game, and it wasn't because I'm a Broncos fan. I can tell you that much. I was just as curious as everyone else. How many? Is it possible? Man, I was rooting for them to break the record, and they should have kicked that field goal. But listen, uh, defensively, it's starting. There's a little bit of reason to worry. They ranked 21st overall in defensive DVOA. I know Kyle loves that stat right there. Not only
I
that, but
do
they're going
love
to be
that.
facing a much better team in the Buffalo Bills, who lead the league in total DVOA. They're in the top 5 on both sides of the ball. In the last 2 meetings, Buffalo has won by 3 points in Buffalo. And the Bills have a great record against the Dolphins, especially at home. In fact, the last time that they lost to Miami in Orchard Park, this is true, Christmas Eve of 2016. Okay, the Bills have the Dolphins number. Miami is a good team, but this isn't the playoffs yet. This isn't the stretch. I think that the regular season dominance just continues for Buffalo right now. I like Buffalo to cover 2.5 points at home.
So, um, it has been 7 straight in Buffalo that the Bills have beaten the Dolphins. You are correct. But last January, when they played, Skylar Thompson was the quarterback, and the Dolphins nearly pulled that one off. Well, they've got a much different quarterback playing in this one. They've got a much different offense. The average per play that the Dolphins are averaging here in 2023 is 8.4 yards per play. 8.4 yards per play. Second in the NFL are the Minnesota Vikings at 6.2 yards per play. To put that in perspective, the Vikings are closer to the Jets, who are down in 31st in the league at 4.2, than they are to Miami at number 1. The difference between 2 and 31 is shorter than 1 and 2. That's how dominant the Dolphins have been. And I do love DVOA, but and I know that DVOA says that it does try to accumulate or account for strength of schedule. Well, the Bills have played Zach Wilson. The Bills have played Jimmy Garoppolo and the Raiders, and the Bills have played Sam Howell and the Commanders. They have not played good offenses. They have not played one good offense this year. They've played 3 bad offenses this year. Now they're about to play the best offense we've seen in the last 20 years. I think that this is the time where the Miami Dolphins break that streak. I think the Dolphins deserve to be favorites until they prove otherwise. Right now, they are proving it in spades. I am all about the Miami Dolphins. I think they cover this spread. I think they win this game outright in Orchard Park, New York.
I'm actually with Kyle on this one. I think that Miami, I think they're the best team in the league right now until proven otherwise. I mean, you cannot put up 70 points in the game and not be considered the best team in the league with a 50-point differential. That is unbelievable. Tua is everything we hoped and more. And we tend to forget that Miami put up 70 points without their number 2 receiver. Jalen Waddle was out. Now they're playing against a Bills team who, the Bills are a good opponent. But every time that Miami plays the Bills, twice last year it was close as well. Not even, only with Skylar Thompson, but if I recall correctly, even when Tua was playing earlier in the season, it was a close game. And I think Buffalo just came out on top in the last couple of minutes. This is a good matchup. I think Miami is just a better overall team so far, as we've seen. And I think the Bills are a little bit worse than we would have hoped. So I'm all for Miami winning, and I think they win by a field goal.
And Tommy, you have a prop bet. You have a prop bet for this game.
Yes, I do. My prop is from this game. Regardless of who I think is going to win, I think that both offenses are going to be airing it out because Miami still, when they played against the Chargers, it could have been better when it comes to pass defense. And Josh Allen is still in his prime. He can still put up a 300-yard game at the flip of a dime. But Tua, he's consistently been throwing that many yards every single game. I think this is probably the safest prop that you could possibly make and get plus 220 out of it. It just seems like easy cash to me. I think this might be one of the best props that I've ever made on this show.
I like these. You're calling it the best prop before we know if it hits. I like it. That is confidence.
I'm confident.
I also like the over-under, the point total on this game right now. As we record, it's sitting at 53.5 points. I love the over. I'm going to hit that personally. I think both teams are just going to run up the score. I'm excited for this one. This is going to be a fun game.
Yeah, definitely. All right, your next game. Speaking of Zach Wilson and those New York Jets and that amazing offense, they're taking on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, the real question is, how long is Zach Wilson going to be taking on the Kansas City Chiefs? I think there's plenty of speculation, and I'm sure Fireman Ed and all the loyal Jets fans out there would love for Zach Wilson to only be facing the Chiefs for a short amount of time if possible.
We know Joe Namath has already called for that.
Well, Joe Namath has called for a lot of stuff in his life, Kyle. Let's not be honest.
Joe Namath is a loser. I don't hear about Joe Namath.
But who do they got? They just picked up some young stud off the waivers. Who'd they pick up? Trevor Siemian. Yeah, that's right. He's back.
All right,
He's
Broncos.
back. He's back. Former third string to starter. Beautiful story. He's back and he's ready for action. He's looking like a stud once again in that New York Jets uniform. Is he the answer? No, dude. The Jets have one quarterback on their roster that could compete with this Kansas City Chiefs team, and he's out for the season, okay? And listen, the Chiefs are feeling great right now. I'm not sure if you've heard about this. They got the Swifties on their side. I didn't know that Chiefs Kingdom could be any more annoying, but add a couple Taylor Swift fans, and it turns out they can. Congratulations, Kansas City. You surpassed Cincinnati and Buffalo. I'm sorry, that's just the Swift equation. But happy for Travis and all his endeavors. I like the Chiefs to get this one done. I know I really didn't talk much about this game. The Chiefs are just such a good team. The Jets' offense is so bad. You can't score and keep up with the Chiefs' offense that is trying to continue to impress the singer-songwriter for Travis. I like the Chiefs.
Well, it's sad because in 2019 we were supposed to get Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes, and then Mahomes dislocated his kneecap the week before and missed the game. So we ended up getting Matt Moore and Aaron Rodgers. Then we were going to get that again in 2020, and Rodgers got COVID, so Rodgers had to miss that game. We got Jordan Love making his first career start against Patrick Mahomes. And now, of course, this year we've got Rodgers once again sidelined with his Achilles rupture. So we keep missing this matchup, this State Farm matchup of Mahomes versus Rodgers, and we probably aren't going to see it now because this would, otherwise it's not, unless Rodgers plays another 4 years. So it's disappointing because nobody wants to see Zach Wilson play. There's just the Chiefs defense has played really well to begin the season. They are playing much better. This may be the best defense that Mahomes has ever played with. Zach Wilson is going to top out at maybe 13. Maybe he can get to 16 points if his defense gets a turnover and puts him close. But the Chiefs are not going to be held down. I mean, they're going to score 30 points. They just crushed a bad offense in Chicago. They're going to crush this bad offense in New York. It's the first time Patrick Mahomes ever started in New York City, and it'll be his first victory, easy victory in New York. Well, not New Jersey City, whatever they want to call it. Everybody wants to pretend like we're in New York, but hey, the 49ers pretend like they're in San Francisco, which much to the chagrin of Al Michaels, I love his commentary about Santa Clara versus San Francisco. Same thing here. East Rutherford, New Jersey versus New York, whatever. Anyway, Chiefs win. Doesn't matter.
I think that the Chiefs and the Jets have bad blood. I don't think this is a love story. I don't think that the Jets can win in their wildest dreams. I think the Chiefs are going to win in style, and they are going to get out of there in their getaway car. I think that the Chiefs are going to blow them out, -10. I don't know if you guys got the Swift references. You guys might not be the biggest Swifties. But,
somebody out there listening, I'm sure, got all of them.
all the Swifties out there.
Your audience is not sitting here.
Well, at the end of the day, the Jets suck. Go Chiefs.
Zach Wilson's not going to be able to shake this one off.
Go Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah. Well, all right. So that was fantastic. Thank you, Tommy, for enlightening us all to the discography of Taylor Swift. Now we're going to go to the game of the year, the best game. We're all excited for it. It is the Denver Broncos and the Chicago Bears.
The toilet bowl.
Listen, I know that, the football season feels like it just got started, but friends, it is bowl season, okay? And I know a lot of people out there want to declare this the toilet bowl, but I'm here to tell you, no, it's the bowl of bums. This is the bowl of bums, and you play the quote, it's spicy, Kyle. It's got everything you need. It's gonna be possibly the best game of football you've ever seen. Oh, that's right, gentlemen. The best matchup the NFL has to offer.
I have another soundbite for this that I put together, if you don't mind.
Oh, well, that sucked. That sucked.
Oh, that sucked.
Excuse me, but I do believe that sucked ass.
I'll notify your next of kin that you sucked.
Yeah.
Mr. Unlimited.
Yeah, God, this team's wow, just wow. I did a little research. I went into the catacombs of NFL records. Since 2016, the cumulative record for the Denver Broncos is 44-73. In that same time period, the Bears have gone 45-72. These teams suck. These teams are horrible, man. This is and it's amazing that they've both hit their peak suck at the same time, and that the stars are just lining up right over there at Soldier Field. And I'm a be there holding a sign going, I wish I hadn't paid so much money for these tickets. That's gonna be me, because I'm a sucker, just like all the rest of Broncos country and the Bears fans of Chicagoland. This game is gonna suck. But you know what? I have to tell you one thing. The Bears suck more, and I know that doesn't sound logic. I don't. Listen, I'm holding on to this one thin, small truth in life, which is that the Bears have never really had it together, and that the Broncos, though they are dysfunctional and disorganized, they're still a respectable organization. If the Broncos lose this game, okay, it speaks volumes. I think it's a bigger thing for the Broncos to lose this game than the Bears to win. I think it says more about how far this Broncos team has fallen since Pat Bowlen's decline and having to give up duties of ownership. I think it's just speaking to how bad of a situation the Broncos team is, and I would like to believe we haven't truly hit that rock bottom yet. I don't know how I can look into this camera and say that after we just let the Dolphins put up 70 against us, but I am. Like this is the one small strand of sanity that I have left, is to believe that the Broncos are better than the Bears. And will I be absolutely heartbroken when Justin Fields looks like an MVP against us? Yeah, I'll be freaking heartbroken. But I believe that if the Broncos are going to turn it around, you can turn it around here. It's not too late. The roadmap is clear, right? You win here, you win against the Jets next week. Thursday night football in Arrowhead, you shock the world and knock the Swifties out of their boots, right? So the roadmap is clear. You can get to 500, but you got to do it this week. And it's got to come through this prop that I also have
Oh my
because
goodness.
I don't learn from mistakes. I have Russell Wilson over 1.5 passing touchdowns this week. It's
Didn't I do that
cashing me.
last week?
Yeah, it's cashing in at plus 124. But hear me out. They aren't the Bears. The Dolphins aren't the Bears. This is the Bears. Sutton won't fumble it twice, right? He won't. That's a once in a lifetime game for Sutton. You gotta hope at least. Yeah, dude. I have the Broncos winning. And I have them covering 3 points. And I have Russell Wilson throwing for 2 touchdowns.
Ben,
And
I
it's
have
on
a
the
question
record.
for you.
Yeah.
So are you actually going to this game?
I think so.
So you haven't bought tickets yet?
No, but regardless.
Oh, they're probably $3, right?
No, I've been watching prices. I refuse to pay more than as much as other fans are willing to right now. They're sitting around the $100 price mark, which I think is insane. Why would you do that to yourself? Both teams
That's
suck.
just a scam.
That's
This
what
is
I.
like- This is like watching 2 cupcake teams like play each other.
I wouldn't go just out of sheer embarrassment that someone I know would see me and know that I paid that much money for a ticket. You know what I mean?
This is like UMass playing UConn. That's what this is.
It's horrible.
In that vein, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this game because it's not worthy of that. This is the exact same prop that Tommy played last week. I didn't have to retype anything. It also paid plus 124. It was nice. A little less work for me in prepping the show, so I appreciate that. But this is the exact same prop. I
gonna
did,
hit.
however, find a video. You were talking about the teams who's better between the Bears or the Broncos, and I actually found a video of a couple of Bears and Broncos fans being involved in this very argument. Here's the video.
They stepped
pretty
into
heated,
every single one
obviously.
of those.
Got really heated argument there. Luckily, we didn't go to blows because there's no bigger question in America right now than who is better between the Bears and the Broncos. So that's sadly you hate to see people going that overboard over sports, but it does happen. So that's all I have to say about this game. I will watch this replay eventually, but not watching it on Sunday. That's for sure.
This is the game of the year.
That
I
video,
can't
I was
turn away.
actually impressed by that video. Those 2 guys, they stepped into every single middle finger that they put up. They
Yep.
stepped into them, and you know what? That's some confidence right there. That's bold.
Those guys had more effort in that than the Broncos defense did last week. I guarantee you that much. They exerted themselves more than some of our linebackers.
Yeah, I was about to say, put one of them at DN. Maybe they'd actually get a QB hurry. I'd love to see it. But yeah, Denver. I mean, I guess, right? I guess -3 because I'd like to think that Chicago sucks more. But I mean, the Broncos outside of Miami, the Broncos have just been a more consistent team. I hate saying this. Oh my goodness. No. You know what? I'm never picking the Broncos again. +3 Chicago Bears. Run it.
Excellent. Ben, thank you for finishing us out on a high note like that. That is obviously the game of the week.
Go
Tommy,
Buffs.
you are up, and you've got the former Battle of Los Angeles.
Yeah, this is
or
not the game
Los
of the week.
Angeles versus former Los Angeles. The Raiders and the Chargers.
This is not the game of the week at all. The only reason I picked the Chargers here is because last week, my favorite player in the NFL, Jimmy Garoppolo, played like prime Brock Osweiler. He threw for under 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, and he sucked. Now, the Chargers sucked a little bit less. And I think that the Chargers, despite their defensive woes, their defense isn't going to have to worry too much because the offense for the Raiders beats themselves. All the Chargers need to do is score a couple points, and the Raiders won't be able to catch up. Chargers -5.5. Run it.
Well, all the Chargers have to do is get up by 8 points, and Josh McDaniels will just start kicking field goals. It's the coaching, how this guy actually is a head coach. This is Tommy. So for those of you who know, Tommy's actually coaching some football right now, and we think, oh, there's only 32 of these head coaching jobs in America. They must be the 32 most qualified people to hold those jobs. If you look at the top 32 brain surgeons, they're all going to be impeccable. Top 32 NFL head coaches, some of them flat out suck. Josh McDaniels gets down to the 9-yard line, 4th and 4, down by 8. He kicks a field goal. Now, what he's saying there is, I don't think I can pick up 4 yards, but I think my defense can get a stop, and then I think we can drive 70 yards for the touchdown. Why is this guy polluting my television as an NFL head coach? Get him out of there. Maybe he's a fine offensive coordinator, although we only ever seen him with Tom Brady, so maybe he actually sucks. He's definitely sucks as a head coach. He's absolutely god-awful. As bad as Brandon Staley could be, him versus Josh McDaniels is like a 7-point swing in favor of the Chargers. That's how terrible McDaniels is. And amazingly, Devontae Adams still looks like an all-pro on this team. This team is absolute garbage. Devontae Adams goes out there and does things that nobody should be able to do with that kind of a team around him. I don't feel bad for him. He chose the Raiders himself. He did this to himself. But, man, he's an incredible talent. Nobody else in Las Vegas is. Chargers are going to win this game.
Kyle, can you ask me what I would do if I was Josh McDaniels? Just fire away. Ask me what I would do.
Well, so he tries the field goal. The Steelers commit a penalty, bailing him out. Okay, great, Josh. You don't have to make the same mistake again. And he did it again. Would you have kicked the field goal there, Tommy?
No, I think I would have taken a knee. At that point, with the offense and how they played that night, I think, you know what? Let's just take a knee. Let's take us out of our misery, right? That's what I would do.
4th and 4, you've got Devontae Adams catching every single thing that's anywhere close to him. You can't.
He's got magnet hands.
You've also got Hunter Renfrow, who's the perfect guy to pick up 5 yards. Come on. Anyway, why do I care? I don't, because the Raiders are terrible. Sorry.
Listen, no, you're all good. Tommy, you started out by talking about how Jimmy Garoppolo was playing like prime Brock Osweiler. Well, I saw prime Brock Osweiler. Brock Osweiler as a backup for the 2015 Broncos. Oh my goodness, Garoppolo's playing so much worse than him. Are you kidding me? This is horrible, man. It's absolutely horrible. The Raiders are gonna Raider. The Broncos may suck, may be going through this decline. At least the Raiders continue to Raider. As Kyle likes to say, committed to excrement. I like the Chargers 5.5.
I'll say Houston Brock Osweiler instead. How about that?
I mean, he did, he started like 8 games the year they won the Super Bowl. So there's obviously something there.
I was at one of them. The one that he finally turned it around.
All right, Tommy, this game near and dear to your heart. And I'm a little surprised by this pick.
Yeah, well, the reason being is that I think that the Cardinals have not gotten enough credit for how they've played so far this season. They have a positive point differential despite losing their first 2 games of the season. They may be 1-2, but I think that they have. I mean, week 1, I was talking about them in week 1, and I was surprised by their ability to keep themselves in the game. The way that I talked about the Broncos last week and how I see a fire in the Broncos, and that was just wrong. I can confidently say that I see that in the Cardinals instead. This is a team that came out here and we expected them to suck. We expected the Cardinals to be one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the NFL, and they're competitive. They beat the Cowboys, who have one of the best defenses in the NFL. And I understand that they didn't have Trayvon Diggs, but even without Trayvon, they still had Micah in the game, and Josh Dobbs was getting the ball out really quick. He had a good game, and Dak Prescott is miserable. He is a miserable quarterback. I could pick 5 free agent quarterbacks that I would start over Dak from how he's played so far this season. He is terrible. And the Cardinals have only proven that they are worthy of at least a little bit of respect. And not a single game they have played. Both of their losses were by 3 and 4 points, respectively. They have not lost a game by anywhere near 14, and they played the Cowboys. And I'd like to think that the Cowboys' defense is superb. So, with that being said, although I know that the 49ers are significantly better, and I would think that they're number 2 in the league, close behind the Miami Dolphins, the Cardinals I think they could keep it within 14. The Cowboys were they were ranked top 3 before last week, and they're still ranked in the top 10 for most, if not the top 5. I think the Cardinals plus 14 is actually kind of a steal here. I still think the San Francisco 49ers are going to win it. They're probably going to have 30 points again, exactly 30 points. But maybe the Cardinals pull out a sweet little 18, you know?
Well, the Cardinals are 3-0 against the spread. I mean, so unless you're betting money line picks, the Cardinals have been good to you as an NFL bettor. And why not continue to roll with the hot team? Right now, they're being undervalued, and get on that before they start to get overvalued. And I think I can see San Francisco winning this game easily, and then setting it on cruise control late in the game, because you're going to want to protect guys like McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. And so my guess is we're not going to see a lot of them in the second half. Cardinals get a late touchdown, cover the spread. Still an easy win for San Francisco, but Arizona improves to 4-0 against the spread. And that's how it happens. That's how you make some money. I'm all about the Cardinals and getting 14 points. That's a big spread.
Actually, I think on your point about the receivers getting rest, I think there's even more of a case for the receivers to get rest. I think Juwan Jennings is back. I think Brandon Ayuk is back. That's their 3 receivers in the receiving room. I think once we get towards the 3rd and 4th quarter and they're up, I think they give those guys a break. And the reason I think they give them a break even more now is because they have the 7th round pick, Ronnie Bell, on the bench, who played a hell of a game last week. And I think they're going to want to see more of him. And I think once they get ahead, maybe they'll throw Ronnie Bell in there, see how he can do, and get the backups rolling.
Well, and they play the Cowboys next week. So it's not just that they're resting because they don't want to get – I mean, their big game is the following week. So yeah, no, I like the Cardinals.
I like the Cardinals here. I'm with you guys. Like Tommy said earlier, there's something about San Fran in that number 30 right now that they just like hitting that. So the real question is, can Arizona score more than 16? I think they can. That's 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Come on now, have a little bit of faith in this Arizona squad here. The coach is a weirdo, but hey, he's doing something right now. The product on field is for sure surpassing the public expectations when we first saw this guy walk into the building. So I'm gonna be with you guys. I'm gonna ride this Arizona Cardinals to cover 14 points here.
All right, Tommy, another underdog that you like this week is the Houston Texans.
I love the Texans here. I think the Texans have been one of the most underrated teams in football. Again, similar situation to the Cardinals. They are 1-2, but their 1-2 is a good quality 1-2. I mean, they lost to the Colts, who have been one of the biggest surprise teams so far this season. They lost to the Ravens, who are consistently one of the most dominant offensive teams in the AFC. And they demolished the Jaguars, who we expected to be a top seed in the AFC this year. And as much as they have been slightly disappointing, they are still a good football team. And CJ Stroud is the answer. I mean, we've seen those young guys on that Houston offense just look incredible. Damian Pierce is getting back into it a little bit. Tank Dell looks great. I mean, 37 points against the Jaguars is it's you don't put up 37 points for no reason. It's not out of nowhere. You have to actually like be a good football team to put up 37 points against a team that was in the playoffs last year with almost the same roster plus some additions. And the Steelers, I think the Steelers suck. I mean, I understand that the Steelers are 2-1 and they did beat the Browns, but the Browns are an abysmal offensive team. There's mistakes that are made, way too many mistakes by that Browns offense. Yeah, the Browns defense is cool. I think that was a fluke. They barely beat the Raiders, and the Raiders actually suck. And the first game of the season, you only put up a single touchdown against the 49ers. I understand it's the 49ers. Got to be better than that. If you're putting up less points against the 49ers than the Giants, then we've got problems here. I think the Texans come out here, surprise us again. I think they win the game. And I think we see a Texans team that could maybe get close to 500 this season.
Well, they've got the best rookie quarterback right now. They've got the best rookie wide receiver right now. And that blocked field goal by Will Anderson was textbook. Great play from a dynamic player. So, they may have one of the best defensive rookies as well. This team is only going to get better as the season goes on. Stroud is only going to get better as the season goes on. The Steelers do have, TJ Watt, who's playing like a stud, and Texans offensive line's not great, but they're at home. They're feeling it. The Steelers offense really has not done anything that's impressive, which is sad for me as a George Pickens fantasy football owner. He has the occasional splash play, but man, Kenny Pickett is really strong. When that's running game too, the Steelers running game has just been non-existent, which is surprising because I really thought Jalen Warren was due for a big step forward, and it may just be that this offensive line has not improved nearly like what we thought they had in the offseason. Texans getting the points. I don't know if the Texans will win this outright, but I like getting a field goal at home for a team that's coming off a big win and has a rookie quarterback whose confidence is sky high. So yeah, I like the Texans +3.
I'd like to also add that the Steelers in their win against the Browns, they had a single offensive touchdown. So regardless of whether it is very hard to replicate defensive scores. It is incredibly difficult to do so. Offensive consistency when it comes to the scoring side of the ball, that is something that is much more necessary because you cannot expect your defense to put up 20 points every single week. And it's not going to happen like that again. That's why I'm so confident in the Texans to come through this week.
Gosh, you say that, dude, and that's what I was saying last week about this Steelers team, and then Gropp goes out there and throws 3 interceptions. There's something about this Steelers defense that is just keeping them in games. It's insane to watch, but I'm with you. I don't think that it's consistent. I don't think that it's something that they can continue to rely on, and the portion of the team, the half of the team that you need to score you points looks so uninspired right now. There, like Kyle said, there really is nothing too impressive from this Pittsburgh offense right now in this early part of the season. I think that at some point this Steelers defense is just not going to be able to keep the team afloat. I like the upshot Houston Texans here, cover 3 points.
All right. The underdog brigade continues. Washington Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles.
I have to have a little bit of a wild card every week. I think this is said wild card. The Commanders sucked last week. Let's be frank. I mean, Sam Howell looked like a bum. 4 interceptions is just crazy. That's a Nathan Peterman stat line right there. However, as we've seen so far, I mean, from what we've seen of Sam Howell, that is really his only bad game. He played well against the Broncos, which, it's the Broncos, but it's still good quarterback play. Competitive against the Cardinals. He had a decent game, 200 yards, 1 touchdown at the beginning of the season. And this is a divisional opponent. And the NFC East, it gets down to the wire over there. It's always competitive. They're in the locker room talking about winning this game and how important it is. And there's a fire in their gut, and I have faith that they can keep it within one touchdown. I think it's a possibility. I actually think it's quite likely. I think the Eagles are the least of the undefeated teams so far this year. They don't look like the same team they were last year. They look quite simply, they just look okay. You can call like 3-0 is great, but they are the worst kind of 3-0. And I think that the Commanders maybe make it a little competitive and scare them.
Well, the Eagles, were undefeated last year, and their first loss was given to them by the Washington Commanders in Philadelphia. So, and that was with Taylor Heineke and a banged up defense. The Commanders are healthier. They have a better offense this year. They've got Eric Bieniemy is doing a fine job. And really, in that game last week, it got away from them. The final score was brutal, but they were only down 16-3 in the fourth quarter, and then it just kind of snowballed. It's division game, and division opponents are always tough. They know each other well. The Commanders know the Eagles. Commanders know that they can beat the Eagles in Philadelphia. I'm not predicting Commanders win, but I think this would be a close game because that's how the NFC East is. I like the Commanders to cover the spread, and I've seen the spread go up now to 8 points. So it may be by the time they kick off, even get closer to 9. So I would definitely, I'm all over it at 7.5. I'm definitely all over if it continues to climb.
I am gonna just keep, I guess, parroting what you guys just said about this divisional matchup. Like, I really don't think that can be understated. This is, arguably one of the most competitive divisions in football right now. There's 3 teams really looking to, try and run away. Eagles are the only undefeated team out there in the East, but, Dallas and Washington trying to keep them at arm's length here. I think it's going to be a close game. All the listeners know from last week, we punched our ticket on the Commanders hype train, and we don't jump off just because they had one bad game against a very good football team in the Buffalo Bills, right? Like, we're still chugging along. We're still on the train. I think the Commanders are still a really good football team. It's going to be a good game. I like them to stay within the touchdown.
All right, Tommy, your final game is our first game of the year overseas, Atlanta Falcons, and of course it's London, so it's the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I am all for Atlanta winning this game outright. I think the Jaguars, I've talked about the Jaguars, and I understand the Jaguars have, if I'm correct, the Jaguars have a history of playing overseas. But despite
They've played
that,
there 10 times already. This will be their 11th game in London.
Despite that, I still think the Falcons come out here and make it difficult for them. The Falcons have been incredibly competitive this year. I mean, they blew out blowout is a strong word, but they beat the Panthers by a comfortable 2 scores. They came back to beat the Packers. They only lost to the Lions by 14, and the Lions seem to be one of the best teams in the NFL. They're not given enough credit for that. I think that they are. And that's one thing. When I talked about it at the beginning of the season, and I said the Falcons are going to win because of the run game. The run game is always consistent. The pass game, I feel like this may be untrue. I might be making assumptions here, but I feel like going overseas, having that consistent run game is going to be a lot easier to handle. It's simple. Your blocking assignments are simple. You don't have to worry too much about blitzing because if you're making a double, you're going to the same backer anyways. The running back room in Atlanta is incredible, and I just think the Jaguars don't have it. They don't have it this year, at least right now. I would love for the Jaguars to pick it up later in the season, but right now they just don't have it, and I think the Falcons come out on top at Wembley.
Yeah, I mean, normally I would give a big edge to the Jaguars just because they're familiar with the travel, the scheduling things out for the week in London and doing all that. But the Falcons were just in London 2 years ago. And in 2021, the Falcons played in London, and they won that game. So they have recent experience as well, which I think kind of negates the edge the Jaguars would get there. Although, man, I look at the Jaguars' offensive talent, and I just can't believe that they will continue to struggle like they have. The Falcons, I can believe that they will continue to struggle because Desmond Ridder doesn't seem to be making any steps forward. They have this incredible guy in Kyle Pitts that they just ignore week in and week out. Drake London has kind of become a forgotten man this year as well. And I just can't picture the Jaguars struggling the entire season. This is their home away from home. They lost 2 games in a row in Jacksonville. Go to your second home over there in London and get yourself a win to get back on track. That's what I think is going to happen. I think the Jags are going to win this game, and I think they'll cover that 3-point spread.
You know, when the rest of us in the U.S. here, when we need a vacation home, we go to Florida. When them Floridians need a vacation home, they're going to the UK. The Jags love the UK, and the UK love the Jags. They're there every year playing a home game. They've been doing it since, 2013 or something like that. The fan base they like them. You see a nice amount of teal in the stands. It's fun to see. You guys already know me. I'm a big Jags sympathizer, and last week will not shy me away, especially when I may be in the new market for a new team. So I'm gonna ride with this Jacksonville Jags team to cover 3 points at their home, away from home at Wembley.
Well, and this is an interesting scenario here because the Jags are actually going to play back-to-back games in London. So after they play this game, the Falcons will fly home. The Jaguars are going to stay there because they are the road team in London next week. So they've not done this before. They've done back-to-back games like this. So it'll be really interesting to see how that goes. Spending their time in the UK, where they, I mean, overall their record is 4-6. They haven't been dominant over there, but partly the reason is because for a lot of those 10 games they were a really bad team. So we shall see with that game. That of course kicks off early. That's what I love about it. We got these London games now. So we're going to get 4 games on Sunday, starting off with early London games. Then we've got our, regular early kickoffs. Then we've got our afternoon kickoffs and Sunday night football. Of course, Sunday night football, Chiefs Jets, which everybody hates now that's on Sunday night football. But anyway, thank you, Tommy. Those were an excellent 5 games. I am now going to move into the box, and there, just a reminder, I am the guy who picked Miami. So go ahead and pay attention to what I say here. You can it's gold. It's gold. We're going to start off with the Los Angeles Rams and the Indianapolis Colts. And I went back and forth on this game because the Rams, the first 2 weeks, played really well. They kind of stunk it up in week 3, and mostly because they simply could not protect their quarterback. Matthew Stafford was getting pummeled by the Bengals, and I know the Bengals defensive line isn't so bad. And they were at home, and they were in need of a win, and Joe's playing, and they got the all-white uniforms on. And sometimes things get away from you. But man, that offensive line makes me nervous because Matthew Stafford is right now he's healthy, but if that offensive line gets him sacked 6 times a week, he's not going to be healthy very long. They've got some fun young players, but I like the Colts. I mean, they have, as Tommy mentioned earlier, they have been a surprise team. They got that week 1 win. They then go in last week and get the overtime win against the Ravens. And the Ravens, one thing we know about the Ravens is they're a well-coached team, and in close games, the Ravens do really well. So to get the field goal at the end of the regulation, to send it in overtime, and they get that field goal in overtime, both of them were 53-yarders. I think it's a sign of a lot of things that are good. Anthony Richardson's going to be back this week, and I like this game. I like the Colts, and I like a prop from this game because of Matthew Stafford's propensity to be sacked. I've got Kwity Paye. He's got 3 sacks on the season. Samson Ebukam's got 2 sacks on the season. All they got to do is each get half a sack in this game, plus 430. I think they're absolutely going to do well against Matthew Stafford's offensive line. I just like the Colts at home in that dome, And I think the guys are going to pin their ears back and go after the quarterback. And I wouldn't be surprised if they got 4 or 5 sacks as a team. These two guys get at least half a sack, and I'm rolling there with that prop on the quarterback sack prop. An unusual prop. It was hard. I had to dig around for it, but I found it, and I am all about it. Gentlemen.
I love the prop, actually. I'm a huge fan of the prop. I don't really know what to add to that, but I do know what to add to the game specifically. The Colts -1.5, I think, is a huge hit here. Anthony Richardson has been the second best rookie quarterback so far. I feel like if he hadn't been concussed, he might have been arguably the best rookie quarterback so far. The Rams, they look good sometimes. They're just not incredibly consistent. And you cannot rely on 2 rookie receivers to remain consistent throughout the entire season. I'm not saying they couldn't do it. I would love it if Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua both had incredible seasons, put up over 1,000 yards, and lit up the NFL. That would be incredible. But the reality of the situation is we've only seen 3 games out of them. And 3 games is not enough. I think the Colts come out here. We've seen what the Colts are. We know that they can dominate. I think that Anthony Richardson puts the Rams defense in a bit of a blender because he's just so diverse as an offensive weapon. And I think that they win I think they win comfortably. I think they win by 3 or more.
You know, what's so impressive about this year's Indianapolis Colts is that you forget that Jeff Saturday was coaching this team into the ground just a season ago. This Colts team has completely turned around. They've completely turned around the narrative. They're a fun, feisty, blue-collar football team. I love Richardson. I love Minshew. Doesn't matter who's going to be taking snaps back there for me. I love this team regardless. I'm going to ride with y'all. Indianapolis Colts -1.5 here.
Yeah, I think what we really learned is that the Shane Steichen hiring was good. This guy is a good head coach, and he's got this team playing for him really well. All right. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New Orleans Saints. Jameis Winston playing for the injured Derek Carr. He has a bit of history with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was a 5,000-yard passer for the Bucs. He also threw 30 interceptions that season, and that's why he is no longer with the Bucs. I think he likes to win this game. I think he likes to beat this team and play them. Cameron Jordan was asked about the rivalry between the Saints and the Bucs, and he said, "We only really have a rivalry with the Falcons. We don't have a rivalry with the Buccaneers." Well, Bucs fans have lost their mind. How dare you? How dare you say that we don't have a rivalry? Because anybody who's ever watched the Saints-Falcons game versus the Saints-Bucs games understands the difference. The Saints-Falcons hate each other. Saints-Bucs are, we're in the same division, but that's it. So relax, Buccaneers fans. You've got your first round, your number 1 overall pick in Baker Mayfield. Saints have their number 1 overall pick in Jameis Winston. I'm going with Winston in this one. He's at the Dome, the former home of the Dome Patrol. And I like him again, the Superdome is a hard place to play. Baker's going to get a little, it's going to be loud. He's not everybody's going to be able to hear his signals. The defense is going to get off the snap quick because his offensive line's not going to be able to hear the calls. I like the Saints. The Saints defense is very good, and Jameis Winston will be good enough to get this W and cover the spread.
How are the Saints against the spread so far this year? I don't know what the record is, but
let me look for that while you chat.
I'll chat. I think that the reason that New Orleans kind of fumbled the win last week is just because they had to throw Jameis in there, and obviously if you have 2 serviceable starting quarterbacks on your roster, you're going to have 2 different game plans for them. It's unlike if you have a guy like Jake Browning in Cincy, where you throw him in the game and you're just like hoping and praying that he can run the most simple offense that has ever been created in the history of the NFL. This is 2 solid starting quarterbacks. Jameis has proven himself to be serviceable at times, and they have a completely different system for him in place. He's played there since before Derek Carr. He knows the system. He understands the offense. And the Buccaneers, I just don't think they're going to hold on. I think it's going to be a good game, quite frankly. I think that it's going to be a bit of a shootout. Baker and Jameis both know how to air it out to an extent, but I just think that Jameis is going to be a little bit smarter with the ball.
New Orleans is 0-2-1 against the spread.
Oh, they're going to go 1-2-1 by next week.
Listen, finding out that there was this much controversy over the rivalries in the NFC South, that was kind of shocking to me. That's like finding out that the Ohio Valley Conference schools have rivalries. I didn't know you were allowed to have a rivalry when you were historically shit. I didn't know. Here's the thing though. This game's gonna be fun. There is a lot to play for. The division is tight. I say that they're shit, but there's 3 teams there that are sitting at 2-1. I mean, don't look at the strength of schedule, but I didn't say that. Uh, Listen, this is gonna be a fun game. Um, I agree with you guys. I like the Saints to do it at home. I think that the added uh, the emotional motivation for Jameis Winston gives him a massive edge here. Who knows how many interceptions he throws, but he will find a way to will him to victory. I like the Saints -3.
All right. This game, I'm not recommending that anybody bet this game on my advice. It is a really, I've been going back and forth on this one really since I looked at the matchup. You had the Titans who were terrible in week 1. Then they were great in week 2, and Ryan Tannehill looked fantastic. Then they were terrible again in week 3. So does that mean they rebound and are good again in week 4? The Bengals offense was not good this last week. They didn't get into the end zone until late in the game. They had a pair of field goals at halftime. They had just the 1 touchdown. The defense got after Matthew Stafford, but they still are pretty weak on the back end. And the Titans have shown that they do have some wide receivers all of a sudden. I mean, but again, I could see the Titans really clamping down on the Bengals. Their defense is very good. I could see the Titans and that Bengals defense or that Bengals offense, struggling again to get to 20 points. But at the same time, I could see the Bengals winning this by 2 touchdowns. I'm going to pick the Titans, but I am not going to actually put any money down on this. I can't get a real good feel on this game. Maybe you guys can. Maybe you have. It's not for me, so I am not going to bet on it. But I'm going Titans plus 2.5 just because they're at home, and I like their defense, and I think Mike Vrabel will figure something out.
I think that the Bengals win this game, but I think they win by 2. My score prediction for this game is 20-18. I think that the biggest factor for me is there's not only is it the Titans playing at home, but I also think that the Bengals I know it is 1 day of a short turnaround, but they're having a short turnaround. They played on Monday, and I think that just that extra day is really what makes the difference here, because this game it's very difficult to decide. Both teams are spontaneous and very inconsistent, but that extra day might just be what the Titans need to keep it within 3. But at the end of the day, I still think the Bengals are going to win, just not by much.
Oh man, yeah, this is a stinker, isn't it? I think the Titans, they're struggling to put points up on the board too. I have to assume that game against the Chargers has to be the anomaly, right? Like compared to the Wow, I'm with you, Kyle. This is very much back and forth. I think I will also wow. I'm gonna go with the Bengals. You know what? Screw it. I have to believe that the Bengals will at some point figure it out. I don't think that they are as bad as they look. They historically have that slow start, but yeah, I'm not gonna touch this one personally financially either. This is one to just entertain from the fan perspective, to just watch. Is not an investment game.
All right. This game also going to be entertaining, but I like the Cowboys to cover this touchdown spread. Had the Patriots had the Cowboys on the schedule when the Cowboys were undefeated, maybe they are looking ahead to that 49ers game. But I think losing in Arizona, getting that comeuppance, getting the humbleness, the humble pie that they were served at State Farm Field there in Glendale, Arizona. I think the Cowboys are going to be more focused than they would have been otherwise. Mac Jones, when Zach Wilson was talking about where he saw a ghost, I think Mac Jones is going to be seeing the ghost of Micah Parsons after this game. Even when the Cowboys were bad, Parsons is still Micah Parsons. He was just named NFC Defensive Player of the Month for September. I think he's going to start off his October quite strong as well. And I think the Cowboys have a statement to make after the embarrassment in Arizona. I think they absolutely want to go in to that 49ers game on a roll. And I think that roll is going to be a 2-touchdown win at home against a overmatched Mac Jones and the New England Patriots.
I'm actually going to go against you on this. I think that the Patriots are going to keep it close. I mean, they played against two of the best teams in the NFL in week 1 and week 2. Yeah, the Jets game was terrible. It was one of the worst games on television this past week. But we got to give the Patriots at least a little bit of credit. They only lost by 5 to the Eagles, 25-20. That's a good game. And 24-17 against the Dolphins, a 7-point game against a team that just put up 70. Clearly, they are a level above the Broncos. No disrespect, Ben. But I think that their defense has been great so far. I know the Jets aren't clutch and they only put up 15 points against the Jets, but we all know that Robert Saleh is a great defensive-minded coach, and the Jets have always been consistent on defense since he got there. They are at this point, they are 1-2, but they have played two of the best teams in football, probably the 1 and the 3 seed right now in the power rankings. And they lost those games by a combined, 12 points, if my math is correct. I think they actually make it competitive with Dallas. I think it's a 4 or 5 point game. They probably still lose, but +7 is a bit much for a team that only lost the Eagles by 5, and the Eagles are. I don't think it's an argument that the Eagles are better than Dallas. I think that it's just fact.
I think that when you look at the Patriots, they're just struggling to put up points. The Cowboys last week, they still were maintaining yards. They were doing great stat-wise. They just couldn't find a way to punch it in. I think that they don't run into that issue this week. I think that they find the end zone more often than not. I think that the Patriots offense then is stuck behind the 8 ball trying to catch up. I don't think Mac Jones has that great of a day. I think that the Dallas defense comes up big. I like Dallas to cover 7 points.
All right. And our last of the 15 weekend games, Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns. Even though the Browns were given their team back after the Ravens were moved to Baltimore and created, Browns fans still absolutely hate Art Modell, anything to do with the Ravens. And the dog pound is going to be rocking for this game. They want to win this game. The Browns defense is fantastic. Now, they definitely took a big step back with the Nick Chubb injury. Last week, they could not run the football. We thought we'd see more out of Jerome Ford. We got a few carries out of Kareem Hunt, but he's been dealing with some injuries this week, which doesn't surprise you. A guy who hadn't played any football in several months all of a sudden plays into a game, he gets hurt. That's the nature of the sport. But this defense, man, the Cleveland defense, there's the best scoring defense in the NFL right now. They're giving up only 10 points a game. The Ravens have a lot of injuries. I know it's another year of football, so it's another year of injuries for the Baltimore Ravens. They've got them all over the football team. And if this game was in Baltimore, I might feel differently about it. But in Cleveland, I think the Browns get it done again because that defense is just that good right now.
Yeah, I hate to root for the Browns because I just I'm not rooting for them. I do hate the Browns, but it's hard to argue that they are the better team in this instance. Not because of just straight up talent. It is due to circumstance. The Ravens are just another battered up Ravens squadron for the third year, maybe fourth in a row. And as much as it stinks to say, I mean, Cleveland just looks like better. They just look better right now.
If Watson can play consistently like he did last week, Cleveland is the better team. My question is, do we get that Watson or do we get the Watson that was playing against the Steelers? Now, we've been praising the Steelers defense, and they absolutely deserve it. But to say that that wasn't just a horrible game from Watson, would be a lie. I can see this one going either way, and I agree with you that the Browns fans are going to make it loud and rowdy for this Ravens team, and I'm sure that if they were allowed to play this football game, they would have a great time against them too. I am not necessarily sold on the consistency of Watson yet. I'm gonna go with the Ravens to stay within 2.5. I think. Easily could go the other way, but until Watson can prove that consistency for me down the stretch, I'm gonna have to side with the Ravens on this one.
All right. So those are our 15 games. We do have a few more picks to make, and these are the picks that really count. These are the picks that we feel the best about, unlike that Bengals-Titans game. So, Ben, you won the nickname game, so you get to go first. So please tell us who your favorite of the week is.
My favorite of the week is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Raiders, covering 5.5.
LAC. Boy, Josh McDaniels. Are you sure you want to bet against Josh McDaniels?
Oh,
He might
man,
kick a field goal.
He's playing against the spread already in his head. He doesn't care about the game. Oh,
All
man.
right, your top dog, please.
My top dog of the week is going to be the Washington Commanders, keeping it close with their division rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Washington at 7.5 against the Philadelphia Eagles. I like it. All right, and your easy money line. I had some money lines up here. Let me go back to that.
I'm going to ride with the Colts, which I have at -102 on DraftKings currently.
Okay, we will go with that. You've got Indy -102. All right. Tommy, your favorite of the week.
My favorite of the week is going to be Seattle.
All right.
What's the spread on that again?
What did we have? That was, let me find it.
1.5.
That's Seahawks. You're getting I've bet the Seahawks as the underdog in that game.
Really? Oh, the spread must have changed, huh? Interesting.
The spread has flipped.
They were 1.5 point underdogs at the Giants.
So let me just scroll through here real quick. I think
I can certainly move them over to your top dog of the week if you'd like.
Oh yeah, you could throw that into my top dog easily. That seems like just money right there. I guess for my favorite, I will pick the Minnesota Vikings.
All right. That was a 3.5 point spread there. All right, and your easy money line.
I want my betting family for NFL points, picks, and props to make some money, make some more, because my money lines have been consistent.
You've been red hot. Yep.
And I think I'm going to be even more red hot with that Houston Texans +120.
I've got plus 123 if you'd like that instead.
Please, I'm begging you. I'm begging you, Kyle.
All right. All right. For me, my favorite, I am going to take the Kansas City Chiefs, giving 9.5 points. For my top dog, I like those Houston Texans getting 3 points. I am going to take that as my dog. And my easy money line, I've got the Miami Dolphins at plus 129. Do you guys see that? Or actually, now I see it as plus 127. What do you have it at, Ben? Or
Mine says plus 124.
I had plus 127, I think.
I'm going to go with the plus 127 then. And the Miami Dolphins getting it done in Buffalo. All right. That is our show. Thank you so much for joining us. Week 4 kicks off early Sunday morning in London with the Atlanta Falcons and Jacksonville Jaguars. It'll end on Monday night with the Seattle Seahawks at the New York Giants. On behalf of Tommy Burch in Springfield, Massachusetts, Ben O'Connell in Chicago, Illinois, I am Kyle Garlett in Denver, Colorado. We are going to take you out tonight with a little tribute to our pair of 4 touchdown scorers, Devon Achane and the Raheem Mostert. Both of them just had amazing games. We've got a little compilation of those 8 touchdowns scored by those 2 men. And that is how we're going to finish the show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and happy betting this week.
We coming. We here. We disappeared? Question mark? I don't know.
Pitch out A-Chain, blocked by Berrios, blocked by Armstead. Look at him dive! Look at him score! Oh, look at that! Shovel pass, A-Chain breaks a tackle and dives for 6. Mostert is in, 1st and 10. Here's the call, the big gain. He broke a tackle of Sanders. He gets by the defensive back, Mathis. A-Chain spinning, Mostert blocked in there, touchdown, 4th and goal. A-Chain, that's Mostert who takes it in. Mostert was in the backfield, 3rd and 7 against the call. There's a nice block from Hill. Oh, look at the move! Dazzling display! Touchdown, Miami. Miami, this great position, 2nd and goal. Shovel pass. A-Chain, touchdown. And 2nd down and 2. A-Chain, big hole. Turns it on, accelerating. You can kiss him goodbye. 69 points on a 67-yard.
First off, great job of blocking up front to create the lane, and then it's his speed. He barely is touched. If he was touched on that dive,